Hello, okay, welcome back. You're hanging out with the trash compactor, and the project we are working on today is to attempt to get one of these vehicles, one of these mini vehicles that I've created over the years, to the 3D printer. Now, I would narrowed it down to this one, but I think it might be a little too complicated to re-engineer for the printer. I would love to see this thing actually become real because I really like this design, and I can add those more trailers to it, but I think I'll save that for another day. This one should be a little easier. All I need to do is modify it a little bit to add a housing for an axle and adjust the wheels to actually contain the axle, and that should be it, and it'll satisfy my impatience to get something to the printer quickly without messing around with the model too much. So I'm just going to sit here and tweak this a bit to get that to happen. Um, One of the things I worry about when making these things is overlap and how this thing's going to sit on the plate. So I could sit this on the plate flat, and I wouldn't have to worry about uh, support structures and breaking that stuff off and the weirdness that comes from dealing with that. And this some of the geometry will reflect that and maybe be a little overly simplistic, but there are ways around it, and maybe we'll see some of those options that I take as I go through here. And I'm going to go and try to make that housing for the axle within the car, and that's a simple matter of adding that extra geometry to the bottom without making it look too ridiculous and going with that sci-fi appearance of the vehicle, of the truck. The little problem I have is that overhang, but I can work this out. It'll just add a little few extra vertexes and some facets. I'll start with that vertex in the middle. I'll find the center spot and work from there. I create that, find that center vertices and just create this circle, kind of approximating a circle. And the funny thing that happened with this is there's no specific size in this. I haven't used any real measurements, but when I imported this to the build plate and just kind of randomly sized it up or scaled it up to be slightly bigger, that hole and that axle ended up being exactly a half an inch diameter. So I didn't plan on that. I don't know how that happened. Um, just kind of a quinky dink, and I'll copy that front piece into the back and weld it together. I probably should have just used weld nearest vertices or attach nearest vertices or whatever that option was, but I went through and adjusted, added them individually to ensure that they were on there, and I'll sometimes end up having to test that to make sure that you got a good whatever join between those two vertexes. And there you go. So our truck is basically done, and I will go ahead and add some more detail to it. There we go to the build plate, and after I've added that detail, which I skipped over in editing just because it kind of was dragging on forever, that allows me to add some good detail color-wise. What I'm going to do is utilize the bamboo multicolor system that comes with it and try to come up with a decent color scheme for the situation. Probably a fairly, I don't know what you'd call it, straightforward, boring sci-fi gray and white sort of two-tone color scheme. And you'll find the surface with that tool. There are a couple different tools that you can use with the Bamboo Studio, and that fill bucket generally works pretty good, but there are times when it does not grab the particular piece that you're looking for. I just wanted to look at the color scheme to see how I had that arranged. Okay, back to it. Make sure the blue goes in the right spot. It generally grabs the geometry you're looking for, but there are times when you're selecting it and it's not reflecting what you think you're grabbing. Like for instance, when I try to color that canopy, as I select that canopy, it absolutely selects the inverse. and I don't understand what was causing that. So, I mean, it does have tools to work around that. Like you see, as you see here. Adding all this color is going to cause this to print probably 18 hours or so. If I was doing it without colors, say I just went with a straight white or a gray or whatever, it would take maybe 45 minutes to print both sides of this model. So I'm just going to do this one side. I'll have to do this for both sides, the mirror image. And as you can see, I laid on the plate, so there's no need for support structure or anything. And that'll actually create a much nicer print. And I won't have to pull off the scaffolding that it creates. Okay. I could just mirror this in Bamboo Studio, but I have had odd issues with it. I know there have been times when I mirrored the same object after I've colored it, that the colors are all goofed up on the mirrored piece, and I don't know what causes that. I tried to do a little research to figure that out, and I didn't see much about it. Oh crud! See, this little thing is hanging down over beneath the plate. I'm gonna have to, you know what? I'm gonna have to go back to Blender and fix that. After it's all been said and done, here we are. All right, good. Then voila, that is a pretty sweet model from Blender to real life. Okay, that build is finished.